Two books. I read her first two books. What she did is she took her genealogy, and she's big, really big in that, and she took it and she created three beautiful books of stories. And it's a dying art, genealogy, but hopefully it'll spark somebody in the family maybe to carry it on later. Or Stuart. Anyway, so if the last book is anything like the first two books, you won't be disappointed whatsoever. So I would like to introduce to you my friend, Rita Owenby Holcomb.
Well, this is my first reading like this, so we both took different avenues, so our presentation is a bit different. Anyway, is anybody else out there that needs to come in? There's a couple of seats if you need to come in and sit down. Okay. I've been asked many times what motivated me to write this story, and what is fact and what is fiction in the Twist of Tobacco series. First of all, the Twist of Tobacco is real. My father, Guy Owenby, had a small box of things that he got from his father when he died. And there were old postcards, a calendar from 1894, Daddy's baby gown, cap, and socks that my grandmother had made and tatted the trim for, a newspaper clipping and an old snapshot. At the bottom of the box was a brown thing that honestly looked like dried dog droppings. When I went, ooh, well, Daddy kind of smiled at me and told me it was the remnant of a twist of tobacco that his grandfather had brought from Tennessee to Texas when they moved in 1882. The photograph was of his grandfather, Watterson Knox Polk Owenby, and my daddy, taken in 1927, and I have a copy of that there. There were two newspaper clippings also in the box. One was about Watt's 88th birthday party, and the other was an obituary. I'm not going to reveal the contents because it's a spoiler for the last book. Now, some of my family is here and they know the end of the story. Please don't give it away. But all of the information that was in these two newspaper clippings made me want to know more about the family. And I fell in love with the story. So there's a certain twist of fate when you continue to research after you've already committed the story to paper. After I'd published A Twist of Tobacco, the first book, which deals with the Civil War years, and I continued to do research for A Vow Unbroken, which is Reconstruction, I found small tidbits of information that confirmed things I had thought that I made up, that were fiction, and did away with other things that, I thought were fact. So, but none of those things affected the story and the bottom line. So we'll just let them stand. A family is like a twist of tobacco, layered, folded, and twisted until each leaf becomes inseparable. This trilogy is the story of 11 siblings and how circumstances tie them together for 70 years. 10-year-old Lizzie proudly watches her brothers, uncles, and close neighbors ride off to war in their butternut uniforms, not realizing that she will soon be responsible for her 5 younger siblings. Since her mother's death 18 months ago, 12-year-old Lizzie has been the woman of her father's house and mother to her 5 siblings. For her birthday, 10-year-old Jeff Taylor gave Lizzie a blue-tick puppy she named Lady Blue. The puppy was meant to be a mate for Watt's hound dog, Old Ned. One hot summer day in 1863, 8-year-old Queen seeks help from the Taylors, and Jeff's 19-year-old sister comes to the rescue. Reading from A Twist of Tobacco is my dear friend, Brenda Sampson.
the path to the Taylor home. Marthy came out the door and caught the girl and squatted down to her level. "Ma's not here, Queen. What's the matter? Is someone hurt?" "It's Lizzie. She's bleeding and I'm scared. To come and help her, please." "Did she cut herself?" Marthy asked Queen as they both hurried down the path. "I don't think so. The bedclothes in her nightgown was all bloody this morning when we got up. She tried to hide it, but I saw it and I'm scared. We can't lose her too." The little girl stopped running and started to cry. Marthy stopped running also, and as she tried to console the crying child, she chuckled. She realized what must be happening. The little girl, Lizzie, was becoming the young woman, Lizzie. Marthy had noticed Lizzie's clothes fitting differently and her body changing. Growing up with sisters, it hadn't occurred to Marthy that Lizzie and Queen might be unaware of the changes puberty would bring. Queen stamped her foot and doubled up her fist and hit Marthy on the arm. "Why are you laughing?" she demanded. "Lizzie might be bleeding to death and you're laughing. You're mean, Martha Jane Taylor." Marthy just hugged Queen tightly and said, "I'm not mean, Queen. Come on, let's check on Lizzie. I think she'll be fine." When they arrived, Lizzie was in the side yard stirring the wash cup. "Queen tells me you were bleeding, Lizzie. Do you feel all right?" Marthy asked. "Queen, why did you tell her?" She dropped the stir stick and sat down on the ground and started to cry. "I'm dying, Marthy. I'm going to bleed to death from one of those spatulas, just like Mama did." Queen's eyes were big as she had a terrified look on her normally happy face. "What do you mean you've got a spatula?" Marthy asked the sobbing girl. Lizzie cried harder. "I heard my mama tell your mama she said her spatula wouldn't heal and she was bleeding all the time from her private place. But I can't die. The little ones need me. The bleeding stops for a while, but it always comes back." Marthy refrained from laughing, this time and gently said, "That was a fistula, Lizzie, and it's from a tear during childbirth. Believe me, you don't have one. How long has this been happening?" "Since early spring. This time is the worst. My belly hurts and I feel like my insides are falling out and the bleeding is worse and I don't know what to do." And she cried harder. Queen came up behind Lizzie and hugged her around the neck. Then Lady came and put her head in the girl's lap. But even that did not stop her tears. Marthy said, "Get up, Lizzie. You aren't dying. You have become a young woman. Let's make some coffee and I'll explain what is happening to you." "You come too, Queen. I sure wish you had told me or Ma before now so you didn't have to worry so much this past few months. Come on, you'll be fine." Lizzie and Queen followed the older girl into the kitchen, and Marthy patiently and lovingly started explaining the facts of life of them becoming a woman. "The first thing you need to know, this is natural and all women experience it. Every month you will bleed for a few days. Ma has always stressed to us the important thing is to keep clean during this time. Lizzie, have you been using a bandage or anything?" "No, I didn't know what to do. I just wasn't wearing my pantaloons because they get all bloody and stiff and are uncomfortable." The girl sobbed again, thinking how scared she was and not real sure she believed Marthy. Queen's eyes got bigger and she pursed her lips together in a definite show of distaste. "No, not me. I'm not going to do it." Marthy chuckled and told the little girl, "You won't be able to stop it, Queen." She turned her attention back to Lizzie. "I'll help you make a belt to wear around your waist and you can use Henry's old diapers to catch the blood." "I'm not wearing a diaper ever again. I refuse," Queen yelled as she stomped her little foot and stormed out of the kitchen and ran off into the woods with Ned and Lady following. "Silly little girl. Sometimes I don't know what to do with her," Lizzie said with all the maturity a 12-year-old could muster. Now that she was confident she wasn't dying, She was striving to be all grown up, and suddenly a flash of recollection came to her. She remembered seeing diapers sunning on the lawn at the Taylor's home, even though there were no babies in diapers. With 4 women in the family, there would be a definite need for lots of rags. Lizzie got up and hugged the young woman and said, "Thank you, Marthy. I'm relieved to know I'm not dying like Mama." Marthy hugged the girl back and smiled. "It's time to put your hair up, too. Let's go find your mother's hairpins and see what we can do with your pigtails." Lizzie shyly asked the older girl, "Do you think Jeff will like my hair up?" Then changed her tone. "I don't care if he does or doesn't. He can't pull my pigtails if they're pinned on top of my head."
Vows are the building blocks, and devotion is the mortar that solidifies a proud Southern family. Lizzie recognizes the importance of the promise she made her dying mother to nurture and protect the younger siblings. In 1869, Lizzie's brothers are all back from the war, and at 19, she is still the woman of her father's house. Lizzie's brother, Ed, lives in a one-room cabin a few yards behind the main house with his wife and baby boy, Billy. 14-year-old Queen helps her sister-in-law every day by bringing the baby to the main house for a few hours. Jeff Taylor, who is a young man of 17, is still sweet on Lizzie and finds every opportunity to call at the Ornby home. Reading from A Vow Unbroken is Cheryl Williams.
Every day after school, Queen ran to Emmy's house to help with little Billy. Emmy was grateful for the time alone to rest or have a few quiet moments to do things without interruption. One spring afternoon, as Queen carried the baby to her house, he started to fret, and she realized that he needed to be changed. After she had cleaned him and was fastening his diaper, Lady and Ned set up a tremendous howl in the front yard. Picking up the baby, she went to the front porch to see why the hounds were in such an uproar. Both dogs were jumping and howling and trying to climb the peach tree. Lizzie was poking into the branches with her broom handle and tripping over the moving dogs. Peach blossoms covered the ground, the girl, and the dogs. Queen could see a man's boot through the limbs, leaves, and blossoms. "Get down from there, you mangy varmint!" Lizzie screamed as she poked with her broom handle. "I said get out of there. I mean it." A male voice cried out, "Be careful, Lizzie. Stop poking me." Confused, Queen yelled out, "Lizzie, it's Jeff Taylor. Why are you poking him with the broom?" "I'm not poking him. We're trying to get this coon out of the tree." She poked again. Jeff hollered again. The dogs barked louder, and Queen laughed. "Give me that damn broom. I'll get him from here," Jeff said as he yanked the broom handle out of Lizzie's hands. The raccoon fell right on Lizzie's head. It didn't stay long, but took off toward the house, ran up the porch steps, and as Queen squealed and moved out of the way, the raccoon ran through the foyer and out to the back porch. Ned and Lady gave chase at full speed. Knocked down by the falling raccoon, Lizzie was sprawled under the tree trying to get her senses back when a ruckus in the tree made her look up. That's when Jeff fell on her lap. She screamed and scrambled away. "Jeff Taylor, you should be more careful. You could have hurt me bad." Jeff lay there, still as death. Lizzie became alarmed and crawled toward him. "Jeff, are you all right?" He still didn't move. Queen ran down off the porch, holding Billy close. Lizzie pulled Jeff's head into her lap and pushed the hair out of his eyes. "Jeff, talk to me. Say something, Jeff." Slowly, One eye cracked open and a wide grin split his face. Lizzie dropped his head in the dirt. "You rascal! You were playing possum. How dared you scare me like that?" Queen doubled over, nearly dropping the baby from laughing as Lizzie stomped up the steps and into the house. She headed straight for the wash basin to clean the dust and sweat from her face. With water in her eyes, she grabbed the rag lying on the rim of the basin. A blood-curdling scream, worse than a panther, halted Jeff and Queen's laughter. Running into the house, they saw Lizzie standing by the basin. One glance at the rag in her hand told Queen what had happened. In her haste to see what the commotion was, Queen had not rinsed or disposed of the rag she used to clean Billy's bottom, but had laid it on the basin rim. Clutching the baby tight, Queen collapsed on a chair while tears of laughter ran down her face. Jeff reached out for Lizzie and, seeing the anger on her face, changed his mind and ran. Lizzie never did see the humor.
And I want to say that they chose their scenes also.
Lizzie's my favorite.
Well, we decided to focus on Lizzie because she's one of the ones who changes probably the most throughout the series. She's the one who had the ultimate responsibility. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. 2 Peter 3:13. After years of planning and treacherous journeys by wagon and exhausting railroad car rides, Watt and Lizzie are finally fulfilling their father's dream of settling the family in North Texas. By 1882, her father and 3 of her brothers have settled in Pilot Grove, Texas with their families. Now it is Lizzie's time to seek heaven's promise. Choosing which items to take consumed Lizzie's thoughts. There were the obvious necessities: clothing, her favorite kitchen utensils, bedding, the children's few toys, and of course her mother's recipes. Jeff declared she could take 3 trunks and they would replace whatever was left behind. There was one thing Lizzie knew she couldn't replace: Old Ned and Lady Blue's offspring, Duchess and Countess. The 1st of September, 1882, Jeff, Lizzie, and their 3 children, 4 trunks, and 2 blue-tick hound bitches boarded the train for Texas. At every stop along the way, 8-year-old Maurice and 6-year-old Dave were responsible for taking the dogs on a walk. Neither party enjoyed the task. The dogs fought the rope around their necks, and the boys wanted to explore the country instead of watching the dogs. "You will not move this train until my son returns," Lizzie told the conductor, who was getting more agitated by the minute. This tiny woman seemed to be made of iron. Jeff pulled the conductor to the side and said, "Unless you want a very bad scene, humor her. I'll go look for the boys." Maurice returned promptly with Countess, but had lost sight of his brother. Chastised by Lizzie's tongue lashing, he was sitting quietly, holding his little sister and with a death grip on the dog's rope. Lizzie was worried about one son and furious with the other. She was standing on the train platform with her hat askew, tapping her foot, ready to hit someone with her parasol, when she heard a familiar sound. Coming down the track was her wayward son, Dave, being dragged by the baying Duchess. Jeff was grinning as he followed his son and the dog. Dave ran to his mother and excitedly told her, "I was scared, Mama. We got lost, but I told Duchess to find Mama, and she did." "That's good thinking, son," Jeff patted Dave on the head. As Lizzie's anger dissolved, she hugged her youngest son tightly, then stooped to let the hound lick her face. "Such a good girl you are, Duchess." "All aboard!" the conductor yelled, and the family resumed their trip. Later, In March of 1912, Lizzie's daughter Mary was visiting her mother with her baby, Virginia. They were sitting on the front porch when they heard a chugging sound coming up the drive. Lizzie ran out into the yard with her broom in her hand. "Get that contraption out of my yard, David McAllister, Taylor," Lizzie yelled at her son as she swatted at the Buick motor car with her broom. Dave killed the engine and it died with a rattle and a cough, jumping and bucking like a bronco. "See there, Mama, you killed it. Now we'll have to dig a hole and bury it. I'll go get the shovel." Smiling in spite of herself, Lizzie took her broom to Dave's backside instead of the car. "You foolish boy, I know better than that. What I don't know is why you want that thing instead of a good team and buggy." "Because it's the future, Mama. There are a lot of things changing. I hear there might be electricity come through here before too long." "Not in my house it won't. There's nothing wrong with coal oil lamps. Now start that thing and get it out of here before the cow's milk sours and the hens quit laying." "I need to talk to Papa first. Is he in the barn?" "He's over at Watts helping with the cabin today. So you can take that thing over there and scare Marthy's chickens." Dave gave his mother a squeeze around her slender shoulders, kissed the top of her head, waved to his sister on the porch, then cranked his Buick and chugged on down the road. Barbara?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Well, now let's see, what else can we do? Any questions or you want, door prizes.
Some people did not get registered for door
Okay,
prizes.
did anybody not register for the door prizes?
I registered, you didn't.
Okay, there's a couple of them.
I know there's several
Yeah.
of them that came in late. Oh, gosh. Thank goodness it was on.
And if anybody, well, no, let's do the door prizes, then we can get more refreshments. I gotta set this off.
Can I go ahead?
I'm dry.
Yeah.